Good evening, family, and welcome to tonight's Vampire Wednesday. It is October, and we are talking about The Wolf and the Rat, which many of you got the chance to see at Gen Con. But for anybody who did not attend, it is still new and upcoming. So tonight, I'll be joined by Dan Blanchette to preview the Nosferatu pre-constructed deck for The Wolf and the Rat. But before we get to that, we have some important news. Renegade Games has recently decided that we will not be attending PAX Unplugged this year, just due to the ongoing pandemic, staff concerns about travel and conventions. We are not ready to attend that show, and so we will not be having a Prince of the City as we had previously planned at the PAX Unplugged convention in Philadelphia. That said, we are committed to having an event in the Northeast United States in this first quarter of 2022. So people who live in that area, we're hoping to play a Prince of the City tournament at PAX Unplugged. You are not forgotten. We have something coming up to help you out, and we'll share details on that as soon as we have the dates and everything locked down. Additionally, for those of you who maybe don't live in that area, who have seen the cool prizes for the Prince of the City and want to become involved, we are working on another initiative, not quite the same as we did with the Season 0 League, but something else to get everyone participating regardless of where you are and give you a chance to earn some cool prizes once again. So stay tuned for that, in addition to information on our Northeastern United States Prince of the City tournament. Beyond the sort of replacement for PAX Unplugged, we've got additional events in the works, both in the United States and overseas for 2022. So I know everybody saw the prizes, saw the things, and said, "Oh, where can I get that?" We are going to make sure that you guys have options and can get those prizes. So I understand there'll be some disappointment. Would have loved to see people at PAX Unplugged, but it's just not in the cards for us this year. We will have more news about tournaments coming up very soon. But for tonight, I hope you enjoy myself and Dan Blanchette going through the Nosferatu pre-constructed deck. Next week, we will have a great preview of the Crip Pack, and we should be able to show off the deck builder, which I know you all have been waiting for a long time. So big month here in the month of darkness. We are going to be showing off a lot of fun stuff, so please stick around and join us for the preview. Thanks.
When the sun sets, the undead awaken. To slake their hunger, they feed upon the herd of unaware mortals. Right beneath our noses, the kindred clash against their rivals as they vie for control of the city of San Francisco. Are you strong enough to cheat Final Death and see another night? Vampire the Masquerade Rivals expandable card game from Renegade Game Studios.
Welcome, everybody, to Vampire Wednesday. I am here with Dan Blanchette once again to continue to discuss the Wolf and the Rat expansion for Vampire Rivals, the expandable card game. Dan, how are you this week?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me back.
Really enjoyed the discussion about Gangrel last time, but people want to know about Nosferatu, which you teased a little bit and said is your favorite clan so far.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. I had a lot of fun designing around this theme.
So tell me a little bit about the Nosferatu. Who are they? What do they do? Why are they so different, and why are they your favorite?
I think one of the cool things I like about them is just kind of how cunning and covert they are. They also have that very distinct look that you kind of associate with those old school vampires, like in the old black and white movies with the long nose and the pointed ears. And just their nature. I like how they were kind of used as like a detective for surveillance, but they're also sort of the keepers of the vagrants and the homeless, but only for their own purposes, so they like protect them just so no one else can feed off them.
Is it almost like livestock? Like they're like ranchers of humans, or
it feels like that. They come across as both compassionate, but also just for their own deeds. I also like the fact that you imagine them living in the sewer systems and just kind of sneaking around and kind of living in the underbelly of vampire society, and more reluctant to show their face, but when they do show it, it's pretty scary even to other vampires.
Okay. And so they are not the ones who are holding glitzy balls and going to parties and things like that.
No, they're the ones kicking down the door, looking for vampires who are maybe have gone astray and need someone to hunt them down.
Okay. So yeah, a very different theme, and again a little bit more gritty and in some ways brutal clan than some of the ones we've shown off so far, I think. So their way, how do they score their points with the Invisible Army? When it, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say this goes back to the comment about how they're kind of the keepers of the homeless, and they basically attach vagrants, as retainers and gain agenda for that. So each time a character in your coterie attaches a vagrant as a retainer, you gain 2 agenda. If other players, your foes, are taking the vagrants from you, which they will often do if they know that you want them.
Sure.
Plus, vagrants are just good because they help absorb damage. You can actually go after other players' characters and defeat them and still get the agenda, albeit just 1 instead of 2. So that's not going to necessarily keep them from you. And as you'll see as we get through the cards, there's even other ways of getting vagrants back into play if you need to.
That's what I was going to wonder about. Is there a way to get those vagrants back in? Because Hunt the Hunters does that by itself. I wonder if there's a similar thing for Invisible Army. There's also the event that makes vagrants worth an agenda to anyone, which will stack with this. So you can get a vagrant for 3 agenda, which seems real good.
It could be good to be Nosferatu in certain situations with this agenda for sure.
Awesome, and that's a Nosferatu introducing himself to a homeless person there, it looks like.
Yep, pointed ears and all.
And like you said, the Nosferatu, they take to the sewers, and that is their default haven. So leader ability, your leader may attack city deck mortals in the streets without leaving your haven. So that seems to me represents their ability to move in the shadows, their ability to pop up out of the sewer and make an attack.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very useful. You don't have to move into the streets and expose yourself. You can just kind of hang back, use the tunnel system, and keep your coterie protected.
So they seems just from these 2 cards that they're not quite as confrontational as Gangrel.
You would think, but when you actually start looking at the individual vampires, you realize you're going to want these guys in your aggro deck.
Nice. Oh, well, then without further ado, let's take a look at General Flint. And immediately, this is not a not a beautiful woman or a handsome man at all.
No, it's not. And he's not to be trifled with. He has an attacker ability that if he has at least 1 retainer, and he will get them because he wants the vagrants, he will reduce your shields by 1. And if he can get 2 retainers attached, he can also do extra damage. So he already has 2 physical. He has animalism as well as double potence. So he definitely packs a wallop. And that's why I said this is a guy you could definitely want in your coterie if you just want to go, smash people.
Go and mix it up. And he's there represented in the art in the sewers, looking appropriately terrifying. And now Shalar
Omar. Yeah.
Shalar Omar has a party ability. When a character in this party would attach a retainer, you may attach it to another character in this party instead. So that allows you, if you're you're using a good attacker, but they already have the retainers that you want on them, you could punt them off to another party member. Basically.
Yeah, or for example, Flint might go out and get a retainer, and then you can use her and then put that one on Flint as well. Then on his next turn, he has those 2 retainers that he needs.
That too.
So you could just kind of spread them around. This gives you a lot more control over, who has your retainers.
And I guess certain retainers, since they give a certain buffs or disciplines and things, you may want them to go to specific places, and that character may not be suited to making that attack. So that's a nice flexibility there. Also with animalism, she's also not nearly as scary, although she's just kind of hiding the ears there. She's
just hiding, yeah. But she's also useful. I think it's also nice to always have a spread of stats. But no matter what attack card you want to go with, she's going to give you that one attribute towards whatever you're doing.
And I think the other thing that I think it's interesting about Rivals is not only whatever attack you go with, but whatever she blocks or whatever attack she takes, she's natively reducing the damage by 1.
Exactly. Good point.
Clandestine.
My favorite Drew Tucker piece.
I do think that Drew's art is particularly suited to the Gangrel characters that we see on
especially
this box.
And especially Nosferatu, this particular clan.
Nosferatu. Yes.
Yeah.
There's another one. I don't know if if they're in the main one or the Crip Pack, but it's perfect.
Yeah, this is also one of my favorite cards too. This one does this. She has 2 social, and this attack does +1 social to city deck mortals. So this particular character is great at going after retainers. She can just go out and get any citizen basically without any other card being played, and with a little bit of help, she can also go after the SAD.
Oh yeah, because they're not retainers, they're not citizens, but they are mortals,
They are
so that will still
mortals.
work on them.
Yep.
And with that Haven, she can do this even while not going into the streets.
If she's your leader.
If she's your leader, it's only for the leader. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you might choose her for that purpose.
And again, I also like whenever there are different viable leader choices, because with the nature of Rivals having the unique characters across the whole table, you do want to have some other viable choices, so you're not just sunk if you put your strategy.
She definitely complements Flint. I mean, she comes at you strong, but from a different way. Yeah.
All right, and let's see who else we got. Shep Mason.
This was a play tester favorite for a long time.
So let me see if I can figure out why. So he's got decent physical attack, and then that's potence.
I think it's just how they imagined his look. They imagined him as like a cowboy, with the big belt.
Yeah, because of the ability you may attach the sheriff title to this character at no influence cost. Right. Remind me, what does sheriff do?
So sheriff can help you go after other people's ongoing cards. So having him be able to attach that for free normally would cost you, I think, 4 influence. Mm-hmm. You can avoid that and just put it on him, and then he can just go basically kick down doors, take out people's ongoings or rituals, no matter what their ongoing is. If it's an ongoing, even any card with a keyword ongoing, I think even SAD have ongoing. So he can actually use that ability to either remove. I think it just discards it if I'm remembering correctly.
I'm going to look it up in the nifty card game or the nifty card database we have.
Yeah.
Because I was curious. I had never really thought about using it for the possibility of using it on SAD.
So you exhaust the character, and it says burn target ongoing card, and you can only use it in the streets.
Yeah, so that would work on SAD. Yeah. Is that a way to also fight against Hunt the Hunters?
I don't know if that counts as defeating. Is the thing, so that's a good question for the FAQ, but I'll have to double check on that.
We'll have to bug Hyra and get a final determination, because we did see Hunt the Hunters show up in wide numbers at in Gen Con. So
yeah, I think it doesn't count as
counter tech.
I don't think it counts as defeating. So I think it's primarily you can use it to get rid of SAD if they're a problem for you, but maybe not to get to the agenda. Also, it's just great for taking out other people's ongoings, to interfere with their, not conspiracies, because those are face down, but anything that's face up,
Oh, and sorry, I didn't mean for the Hunt the Hunters deck to use Sheriff. I mean for a deck that is teching against Hunt the Hunters.
Oh, definitely.
Would that let you?
Yes. Absolutely.
Discard them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way to just get rid of them.
Because it's not defeating them, so they don't get reshuffled.
Yeah, and they're burned. So yeah.
Cool. So that's a really interesting, just the thought of a way to use Sheriff. If people are all about Hunt the Hunters, like some people did seem to be at Gen Con, that's a nice little thing to think about. Absolutely. Not just specific to Shep or to Nosferatu, but just a thought that I had. Pong. This is the one. This is the Drew Tucker piece that I think is just so perfect for these kind of weird, creepy looking vampires.
Weird. Yeah.
Pong is a 4 blood potency, 2 mental attribute, and the first time you detach an animal from a character in your coterie during each one of your turns, draw a card.
Yeah, which is just going to help you hopefully find more animals if that's your thing. Because animals are a part of the Nosferatu. They're not just a gangrel thing. There's animals in this deck as well. When you in the future, if you choose to construct decks and mix and match, these clans would have a lot of synergy with each other.
Yeah, well, then that was the thing that is also really cool. I love one of the things that I think is such a good move in Rivals is that all the products come with these pre-constructed decks that you can literally just sit down, crack it open, and start playing. There is no barrier at all. There's not even look at the deck list and assemble it. It's about the easiest expandable card game type game that I've seen to just pick up and play.
Yeah.
And it is also cool that from what we've seen so far, at least, there's some nice synergies between these clans that come in the box. Like I could get Blood and Alchemy, you could get Wolf and the Rat. We could play some pre-con games, and then we could just mix our two clans together and have something that works and has
Yep.
some synergies.
Yep.
So really fun there. He's got that little rat in his hand. And he's just such a little creeper. And then Kim Fan. So I guess they all kind of have like the some artifact. Like she may have makeup or something to try and hide that sort of Nosferatu aspect, but it comes through a little bit in the art, and I think that's a nice touch.
Especially the ones that have obfuscate, they're using it to that effect.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
So she could, go ahead what she does.
It's not an action, but you can exhaust this character to just remove a token from an ongoing or unattached face down card. So for example, if someone's playing conspiracies against you, like the Malks, you can, take some of the tokens off their card. You can also just remove cards from other people's face up cards, like long-term investment or whatever they have in play. What's great though is if you're you can only do it in the street, so you have to expose yourself. But if you actually are willing to pay in the prestige, you can discard that person's card instead. So that gives you another little way to get rid of another ongoing. Up until this point, we didn't really have a lot of ways to get rid of ongoings. I mean, the sheriff was a part of the core set in the Crip Pack, so that did exist. But it wasn't that always easy to get into play. So now you can actually have a full-time character that actually you can have a higher probability of having her in your coterie, who can have some some success slowing down these other clans that are focused on having cards out.
Will that also work on a ritual? It will, right?
Anything with the ongoing keyword.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a nice toolbox. It'll work on a lot of different things that you could run into.
Yeah.
Oh, why do I not go? There we go.
Oh, that's another cool Drew pick.
Yeah. How does this name?
Chuja. Yeah, he has a party ability. Exhaust this card. The next attack made by a member of this party has +1 intel versus characters in their haven. So you can have him in a party with like Flint, exhaust him, and then Flint can go after the people in the haven without having to discard a card for that.
And the way the parties work, I would declare. I make my party, I exhaust him, and then I make my party to go attack. So he's no longer part of the party, or
he's no longer a part of the party, but it's okay.
But he's applied to that party.
He's already, his ability says the next attack by a member of this. So that person, even if you're breaking off from him, it's already been activated, so it stays with that member.
Okay, that's what I thought. I just also thought that he doesn't actually come along anymore because
he does.
He basically guides them through the sewers to the back door into the haven, and then says, "Here, go at it." I like that. And then into the actual library deck here. Seeing is Believing does 1 damage. It's mental. And this is Obfuscate. The target's mental attribute does not reduce damage from this attack. Pretty straightforward, but good.
Yeah.
And that's a nice, very sinister art piece.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I like the colors.
And Animal Dominion we already saw, but it shows up in here too.
Yes, it's also in Gangrel, but as I mentioned, Nosferatu have their animal ways as well. So this is an example of being able to do that. In case you didn't watch last episode, basically you can burn animals that are attached to your characters, or you can discard them from your hand, or a combination of the two, and you just add up those animals, and then you get that much physical damage to apply to a character in the streets.
Yeah, and like you said, probably a more of a late game if you've gotten the benefits of having those animals around for a while, and now you're gonna toss them and go after,
or as a sneak attack. Like if someone doesn't know you even have animals in your hand, if you chose not to attach them, this could be a sneaky card to play later, as well, if you have like 3 or 4 animals.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And I guess is it true to say Gangrel doesn't have quite as much of like the readying stuff, so the playing the animals is a little bit bigger price than Nosferatu doesn't have as much of the readying.
Yes.
Playing it is a bigger price than Gangrel, so you might decide, just toss them.
Yes, especially in the pre-cons. Yeah.
Cracking the case. Speaking of ongoings, here is one for the Nosferatu. Add 4 from the general supply to this card. Remove X. Target attacker gives intel, X intel for this attack when empty. Burn this. So just a nice intel on tap.
Yeah, this is a great card economy card. You get it out there, and if you're having a deck that's focused on going after vampires, especially in their haven, or anyone who's trying to turtle against you. You don't have to waste your own cards to overcome their secrecy, especially if they started building up secrecy. This can give you enough to overcome as much as 4 secrecy in one go, or just 1 per, which is going to probably be more common. So it's great to have at least one of these out. It'll save you some cards over the long run.
And this one jumps out to me immediately as there's no reason it has to be a Nosferatu or Gangrel card. That's useful for anybody.
Oh yeah, Bruja will love it. Anyone who has an aggro focused deck will probably want this.
Yeah, absolutely. Feeding the hungry. So this gives me strong it vibes here.
Yeah, Pennywise.
And that's like you said, a way to get the Vagrants from the burned pile into the streets.
Right. If they're being discarded if they're being burned for whatever reason, or if you just go after and defeat a vampire and their Vagrant gets burned because they got defeated, this is another way to kind of get them back into play.
So an attached Vagrant will be burned when that vampire leaves play.
Right. It'll go to the burn pile. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Or
there's back in.
Yeah, and there's other ways. You can also, when you go to defeat a Vagrant, you might choose to burn it for the mending.
But now I think the agenda requires them to attach, right? So the Nosferatu player is not going to do that, but somebody else might.
Yeah. The agenda for the agenda card requires it. You still get the agenda for. Actually, the Vagrants don't have agenda, do they? That's just the retainers.
No, it's just just the one event.
Yeah.
Feral Whispers, another one that makes a repeat appearance from the Gangrel deck. This one is allowing you to recur those animals. And this is the way for Nosferatu to do it because they don't have Lil Fang.
Yes. And as I mentioned before, there's no animalism requirement to put this into play, but you need to have at least one character with animalism before you can activate the trigger on this and actually remove a blood.
Makes sense. Help me help you. This is, the Nosferatu just being great neighbors.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What does this guy do here?
It says when a character in your coterie attaches a retainer, min 1 blood on any character in your coterie or torpor. So this is a great way to get some of your characters back out of torpor more quickly, or just to heal people in general whenever you attach. So if you get one of these out, especially with this precon, especially with this particular agenda, and you're going to be attaching Vagrants anyway, you might as well try to get something out of it. So this mend is giving you a little more, bang for your buck there.
Sorry. The other thing that's interesting is that this gives you the mending as well as the benefit of attaching the mortals too.
Absolutely.
And these can stack. So if I had 2 or 3 of these in play, I'm going to heal 2 or 3
exactly
anytime I take a mortal or a retainer, which is again really solid. I like the things that you take some setup, but then the payoff, is passive. So just you make an investment and it can pay off pretty nicely. Protect the flock. So a little bit of crazy cat lady vibes there.
Yeah. So this is the kind of card.
Spoiler for the Crip Pack.
This is the kind of card you might want to put into play just to kind of maybe stave off other players from getting your Vagrants or your retainers that you want. So you actually could put a blood of your color, your own character's color, clan color, onto a card, and that increases the cost to defeat that card for everyone else but you. So you can, if you have 2 or 3 of these on this can be exhausted every turn. So you can put 2 or 3 blood on a Vagrant, and it might cost 4 or 5 to defeat them. So more than likely that Vagrant's not going to be defeated by anyone else. But when you go to get them, you still only pay 2 blood.
That's also very thematic, like you said. They want to take care of the Vagrants, but only for their own purposes.
Right.
This is bang on the money as far as making that thematic. That's clever, and that's coming from your general supply, so it's not really costing you anything.
What's cool, it's for mortals, so you can use this for lots of different ways. You can even put it on SAD to keep them out there if they're punishing other people and you're not worried about them. For example, maybe you have hiding in plain sight or something from the Gangrel, and you don't have to worry about the SAD. You could just keep making them impossible to fight, so that they just keep beating everyone else up, and then then you can go in and clean up.
That card's kind of fun. And now we've seen the 3rd tradition. This is the 2nd tradition, the domain.
Domain, yeah.
These traditions are a long-standing World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade thing. So
yes. And this
tell
one
me about this one.
This one is a variation on the card you just saw. It's another way to kind of protect mortals. Doesn't protect SAD, but you can attach a citizen or a vagrant in the streets to this card. They're still actually in the streets and other people can attack them, but they have to pay you in prestige. So it's like they have to get through your defenses, which is basically paying you prestige in order for you to basically give them the permission to go after them.
So citizen or vagrant, you can't use this to protect SAD, which makes sense. They're not really going to be working with you like that. And I love the art piece really gives that, this is mine, protecting what is mine here vibe. So it's kind of nice. It's a toll that people will have to pay, and it maybe enables you to target their prestige pool. If they're
especially useful if
paying for it.
Especially useful if some things come out on the streets and you're not able to take them now, but just for whatever reason you don't have enough actions. You can still exhaust this and try to protect those assets until your next turn, and hopefully they'll still be around. And if they're not around, at least you got prestige out of it.
And they'll stay attached there until somebody takes them, right? So it's not an exhaust to do it every turn and then have to redo it next turn. I could do it for over 2 turns, and then they're safe the whole game.
Yeah, they're there.
Not safe, but
they're permanently part of your domain. Yeah.
Okay. I like that too. Secret Passage.
Yeah, this is cool. This is like a variation on Flint's ability, because Flint can go out, or anyone who's your leader with the sewers can go out and attack mortals, and then without leaving the haven. This is a way to go out, do stuff, and then retrieve your characters to your haven, through a secret passage. You can only use it for one character, but that gives you a reason to stack.
Yeah, three of these. And that's it's not an action cost to exhaust. So that's the thing that I ran into people a lot at Gen Con, not realizing that if it doesn't say action, just says exhaust, just exhaust that card. So it's right before you end your turn, boom, bring them back to some sort of state of safety.
It's just a way to keep you from using it over and over on your turn. You just use it, it's a way to remind you that you've already used it once. So, but if you get 2 or 3 of these out, you can bring back your whole party, so it's a great way to just keep your guys home and protected.
Yeah. And then once they're in your haven, they're all in a party regardless. So it doesn't matter that. I was going to say first, does it keep them in a party if you move them around, but it won't matter.
It won't matter in the haven. Yeah. And they stay ready or exhausted, whatever they were in, whatever orientation.
That's cool. I like that. Now that is a Nosferatu only.
Yeah.
I could see a use case for other clans to want to use this, but they will have to splash Nosferatu in order to pull it off.
They will.
Sewer rat. This is one of the animals we haven't seen yet. So this one does not have a blood cost. So this is kind of, I think, the only one that doesn't that we have.
Yes, I think so. I can't remember if the swarm had it or not. We'll know soon when we get to it.
So animalism attached to the active character. Exhaust sewer rat to mend 1 on a wounded character. Again, another thing that I encountered at Gen Con for people who maybe haven't played that many games. Wounded is a game term. That means half or more of your damage.
Yeah, half rounded down. So it's like, if you're a 5 cost character, I think you're wounded 3. If you're 2 or less. I think it's rounded down, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm thinking of 3 missing. So
3 missing. Yeah.
And so people would say, well, they've got a damage on them. Are they wounded? It's like, no, you got to be half. So that'll mend, and then you can detach them to steal a blood from a target character in torpor and add it to any character. So they have to be in torpor, but that'll keep an enemy vampire in torpor longer, which is always a nice
Exactly. Thing. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
I don't remember there's a ritual that does a similar thing. They increase their blood potency while they're in torpor. That was a pain in the butt when I was running Thin Bloods, I'll tell you that. Not a fun one. And then you're up the swarm. So this is a less cuddly animal for the Nosferatu here. What does the swarm do?
And again, no payment cost other than having animalism. It's a party ability. This is great because it does give you shields. They basically shield you against non-aggravated range and physical attacks. So if someone throws a Molotov cocktail at you, this is not gonna help you. It's gonna burn the locust.
That tracks.
Yeah, but if they're attacking you with a non-aggravated, like a crossbow or something, or just a normal physical attack, this will give you a shield. Everyone in your party will be shielded by these guys. And then you can detach it to prevent aggravated. So if someone does throw a Molotov at you, you can just detach it to prevent that Molotov.
Nice.
And it might save your vampire from getting burned out completely. So
And so also attack. So the detach would also prevent like something like Sunrise Surprise. If now that does 2 aggravated, but if 1 wasn't enough, preventing the second aggravated could keep your character
It
from
could.
being burned there.
Yeah.
Because it's not that the detach effect is not just during attacks. Cool. Constant Surveillance. This is a really fantastic art piece. Pay 1 prestige, cover target foe's agenda or haven with this card, or pay additional 1 prestige to cover both.
Yeah.
It
This is a
blanks the
cool.
cards, and at the start of your next turn, you burn it. So a great shutdown for 1
Yes.
round.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's getting close, you can just kind of shut down their agenda engine or their leader ability if that's what's going to make the difference. Or you can even use it offensively. You might shut down their haven just so you don't have to overcome, like secrecy or something, or
It
some
gets rid of their secrecy.
or some defensive. But usually this card alone. I mean, this is an ongoing card, so having it out there, if you could pay a prestige instead of having to discard a card, that may be worth it too. But I see it more often being used against people's agenda, but I can see I'll use definitely other uses for it.
Yeah, interesting. I like the fact that there is that kind of alternate way to use it that people might not expect. They might be ready for, oh, you're going to stop me from scoring, not for the, oh, you're going to just march right into my haven. Because, and it makes sense, if you're observing their haven, you're going to learn how to enter it without the usual tricks.
One good point about that card though is it doesn't keep your foe from scoring. It just keeps their agenda card from scoring, so they can still go after SAD or retainers and
Their
stuff
rivals.
and get agenda other ways.
Cornered Rat. So there's a lot going on here. There's 3 blood potency, no native damage, and it's an attack, physical attack, or a physical or mental reaction.
Yeah, I can walk you through this card.
Sure.
This is also a clan lock card, so it's a special Nosferatu card. It has a lot going on. First of all, it's an attack card. It's a physical attack card, and it's like you're a cornered rat. So it's like the more hurt you are, the more damage you're going to do using this card. So if you're Flint and you're a 6 BP character and you're down to your last blood, this card does 5 damage on top of everything else that you do, on top of your physical stats and everything else. Obviously, that's going to be a rare thing, but you want to use this when you are wounded to some degree, because that's where it's going to be the most useful as an attack. Defensively, what's cool is it works against physical and mental, but but it actually does physical back. So if someone's coming after you with
a really big mental attack,
big mental, they might not have a lot of physical, and then you're actually doing a 2-for-1. So if they're doing 2 mental, you're doing 1 damage back, and then that's prior to damage prevention. So that's how much they're actually dealing, not how much you're actually receiving. So even if you're blocking all of it, you still do the damage back.
That's a nasty surprise.
Yeah.
And again, very versatile, having things that work as both attacks and reactions.
Yep. And because it has the damage icon, you do add your physical stats to this. So if you have a lot of physical stats, you're adding that to whatever damage you're dealing back.
Oh yeah. Okay, I was briefly thinking, okay, why is there damage icon on there at all? But yeah, that's the interaction there.
Yeah.
It's the same. Which one is the Corset card that has a similar interaction? It does damage back and it deals their physical.
Like slap in the face or something?
That's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Slap in the face. The Stampede. So 1 damage native. The target has -1 defense for each character in this party. This is not locked to Gangrel.
No. It does have a little bit of a boost for potency, but I can see this being used to a great effect by Bruja. They have a lot of potence to get that extra damage, to make it a 2 damage card. But the biggest thing is just reducing the shields. If you got a party of like at least 3, most cards, aren't going to give you more than 3 shields. There are exceptions, but this will make it a lot easier for you to hit hard.
Yeah, I like that. Does Jacob Frost have potence? I'm trying to load it up right now. No, he does not. He just has Thin Blood Alchemy.
Yeah.
But he could potentially get potence through
attaching those cards.
Yeah, interesting. I just love Jacob, so I'm always looking for ways to make him wreck people's day worse.
Yeah, and that clan tends to have a lot of people in the party, right?
Yes, that's why. And his ability directly works off a lot of people in the party too.
Yeah.
So Disturbing the Hive. This is a ranged attack. what is going on here in the art? Is this
It's a,
Nosferatu like
it's
sending the bugs?
Yeah, it's sending the bugs like out of his sleeves and out of his mouth. Imagine Flint doing this. What's cool is this also counts the swarm in your discard
Sure.
pile. So if you don't have them attached, if you maybe detach the swarm earlier, you can still count it. The most you're going to be able to do damage wise from that card is +3, but then it is a ranged attack that you can augment. So Flint, for example, can still get +1 damage with this card if he has 2 retainers. So this could do potentially 5, maybe even 6 damage. That's hard to block because it's ranged.
And if you have Obfuscate, you'll also negate the reaction.
Exactly. So it could be a pretty badass card, but it does take some build up to get those swarm cards in your deck.
Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, you don't want to be able to just drop that with no setup or work needed in the first place.
It is a clan lock card, but if you are able to splash some Nas into like Bruja and have Beretta using this, even if she had no swarm cards, she could still get the plus damage because of her ability plus this damage. And if you had actually she doesn't have Obfuscate though, does she? I think she has something else.
I don't think she does.
Yeah, you would have to, you have to find the right ways of boosting that damage to get the most out of this card. But there's a lot of Obfuscate out there.
Yeah, it's a cool art piece, and then just a cool interaction with the swarm too.
Yeah.
And now we come to Bad Reflection, which is a really wild art piece, but also
it's crazy.
This was a card that I think caused a lot of those real quick losses in the first round of our pre-release because people did not know this was in there. And tell me why this is so wild.
This is crazy because it's a physical and social reaction, which is a very useful type of reaction. Like most of the real damaging cards coming your way are going to be physical, and or possibly social. And to be able to deal mental back, and mental tends to be something that people with a lot of physical don't have when they're attacking. You're basically doing a 1-to-1 attack back with whatever you're being attacked with, and it's not it's prior to damage prevention. So if someone's hitting you hard with like 7 physical, which is possible, you could be sending back 7 mental to them.
Which now, they're probably not prepared for.
Yeah, that might be a double knockout. I mean, because if you're playing this reaction, you're not playing any shields, so you're going to take whatever damage you're going to take, from that attack. That might be pretty tough for you as well. But what you're sending back could also possibly take them out too.
And if you were able to, that's what we saw was some big people swinging on someone saying, "All right, I put all my pieces together. I'm going to go get you," and then they just get walloped.
Yeah, and especially useful if you play this with a blocker. Like if you do, you're protecting the guy they really want to take out by blocking with someone that you don't care about, like a guard or something. You're still going to get the full value out of this card.
Yep.
Because this doesn't add stats back, so it doesn't matter who plays it. There's no icon here, so you're not going to do more mental than they're doing physical or social.
Yeah, and I love the person reacting to this kind of grotesque.
Yeah, it's a very strange art, but I like it.
Veiled Threat, another.
Yeah, this is
social
cool.
here.
Yeah.
So it's got 1 native and then +1 damage for each Obfuscate this character has. Attach it face down to the target if they have 2 or fewer attachments. So a little bit crossbow style. It's going to clog up a spot.
Yes, very much crossbow style. And what's cool is there are characters out there with double Obfuscate. So like Bad Penny, from the Malks, and also in this expansion, Clandestine has double Obfuscate. So this could be a 3 attack card. And then on top of that, the Veiled Threat is attaching this card, which can prevent them from adding more attachments if it fills up. It's gonna make it more hard and more difficult for them because you can't remove face down cards on your own, unless you're defeated.
Yeah, that's not the best strategy to get rid of the Veiled Threat to off yourself.
Nope.
And that's the last card of the Nosferatu pre.
Already, wow, cool.
Yeah. So we showed off 2 pretty different play styles, and of course the Wolf and the Rat comes with the Crip Pack, which has even more choices, and especially 2 more agendas and 2 more havens, which will let you try something a little different with these existing clans. We're not going to get into that today because we've already teased and tantalized with all of this Nosferatu goodness, but can you tease us maybe a little bit? Like, what's something cool in the Crip Pack that people are going to be excited to hear about next week?
I can spoil one card. It's one of my favorite cards.
Sure.
It might be a future ban card, but I hope not. It's called Spy Games, and that's in the Crip Pack, and that basically allows you to basically take someone else's rival token and hold on to it. So basically, you shut down. No one can call them rival, but or you can, still someone else's rival. So you can't call them rival. They can't call you rival, one or the other. So basically, that prevents their ability to score agenda based on whatever triggers off of rivals having a rival. And so it kind of can change the strategic landscape, for one turn anyway. So it also can you can also, by taking someone else's rival token, basically they become your rival. So if someone's
That's
over
what
here,
I was gonna say.
yeah,
Does it also work the other way?
Yeah, absolutely. You can say, oh, this person looks like I can knock them out this turn. I'm going to steal their rival token with the Spy Games, and then I'm going to take out their last vampire for the win, kind of thing.
That's a wild
yeah,
card.
it is wild, but it's hard for it to probably come into the perfect scenario where it's going to pay off with that big story, but it could happen. But you can also just use it defensively, to just to save yourself. It's a neat. There's a lot of different ways to potentially use that.
Okay, awesome. Well, folks, if you are interested in hearing more about the Crip Pack and then our news for pre-orders, so if they've not already opened, this is pre-recorded, so forgive me if that's a thing that we've already done. Hopefully it is. Hopefully you've already pre-ordered Wolf and the Rat. But next week, Dan will join me one more time to talk about the Crypt Pack and the wonders contained within. But until then, Dan, thanks so much for joining me and talking about the Wolf and the Rat. And everybody in the family, thanks for tuning in. And I hope you are playing plenty of games. Have a great night.